Hello, and welcome to another edition of Man with a Mentor. I am the man, your host, Matthew Barnard, and today I am here with a guy named Jacob Stuart. Say hi.
Hi. Thank you for having me, Matthew.
Oh, you're welcome. I don't even know how to introduce you because you've done so many things in the entertainment industry, but I want you to focus on what you're focusing on now and tell us what you are doing now, as opposed to me throwing out titles that don't represent maybe what you're doing or achieving right this moment.
Of course. So I'll talk. I'll do the cliff notes and talk on the high points. I have a couple of movies coming out. Alan Ruck from Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Twister, and I got one with Kevin Spacey coming out and those kind of films. But I'm most known for my company screenwriting staffing.
Right.
I've been doing that for over 10 years, and they connect producers with screenwriters, writers who are looking to sell their scripts or get jobs or whatever. And we have different kind of memberships, but it's mainly to get writers paid. But for me personally, I am a screenwriter, producer second. Right. And I've had some projects done. My bigger projects are more producing than screenwriting, but I have a couple good stuff on Tubi and Amazon and stuff. But I graduated from film school, had my bachelor's degree. I've taught screenwriting professionally in Africa, Hollywood, here in the Dayton area. So I'm all over the place, but screenwriting is my focus, but I'm also a producer as well.
But you're here with me now, and that's what counts.
Yep. And thank you for having me, Matthew.
Oh, you're welcome. So basically what this show is about, Man with a Mentor, is about talking about your path, how you got from growing up as a little boy or whatever to where you are now, and all the pitfalls and problems and successes that you've had. So from where you are now, what would you say is the biggest learning curve that you've gone through?
Well, okay, so that's a good question, and I don't want to go too far off, so stop me. Okay. But when I went to film school in LA, they taught us how to do the basic things. They didn't teach us most of the creative pieces, but what they taught us was how to hold a boom, how to hold a camera, how to light someone. Right. How to hold up a light, how to those kind of things. While
I feel like my head is very shiny right now.
Well, I don't. Is it?
I have less hair than you do, and that's probably the problem.
So,
yeah, you could probably light me better. I don't know why I didn't let you do it.
I think my forehead's shiny.
So. Makeup girl. No. No, but keep going. So you learned a bit of everything.
No, I think let me back up for a minute. So one of the cool things I think with the arts and film in the U.S. is when I graduated high school, which was in 2006, there was no opportunity to go to school for film, to learn film, to do anything. You had to go to L.A. or New York.
Right.
It's changed now. There's film commissions all over. We have film tax incentives, places like Ohio, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Mexico. There's big films being made.
Right.
But when I graduated, it was either go to LA or New York. So you had to kind of budget to go out to LA. That was the only choice.
Right. Right.
So I had to go out to LA.
Right.
And yeah.
Right. But I'm wondering, because a lot of people say, is film school worth it? And a lot of people also feel like that's a double-edged sword, because you may go through it, but it's more the connections that you make.
Right.
Say you're surrounded by a graduating class or a group of people, and you befriend them, and then they start to work on projects, and they recommend you for projects, and then you're going to industry things, and you're meeting hopefully the right people. So that seems to be more part of it. Do you think that's a better route than maybe going to a school that's kind of in the red part of the country, and then you arrive in Hollywood and you may have the degree, but then you're having to start from zero of the networking and finding the right people to be around to get things happening? Like, how do you feel?
Right. That's a good question, and I'm asked that a lot. So I had my bachelor's, but I actually got my associates in Los Angeles. I was we were off Vine in Hollywood, and I don't think I could ever. You can't replace what I learned there, and it wasn't so much of what they taught me, but it's like what you said. The students you're with, they're working in the industry. Like that's your connections. Your teachers are working in the industry. But even when you're not, even if you don't want to network with them, you go to the coffee shop and you're with people who are big, and there's opportunities to work on set. I went for my bachelor's online at the same film school, and that was not a good experience. That was a waste of money because you can't learn film online. The thing is that I know that there's good like film schools in the Midwest, and I'm sure you can learn the trade and all of that. But for me, if you go to film school, it's about the connections, it's about the networking. It's that, I mean, period, the end. That's it. The one positive I'll say about being in the Midwest, though, is you can work on set here. Like in the Midwest or East Coast, and not have a lot of experience, but they'll bring you on and you can build your resume.
Right.
And then you can go out to Los Angeles, whether you're an actor or you work in crew, and say, oh, look at these projects I worked on. And you wouldn't have those opportunities in Los Angeles because you're a small fish in a big pond. But out here, it's different. But as far as film school, if you're going to spend the money to learn film, you just need to be in the heart of it.
Right. Well, that's a, I feel like that's a smart take on it. I'm just wondering, how do you ask this? If you're at film school, how many projects do you work on that you like? Do you write your own projects and then like film them, produce them, and have people around you that help you get things done, or is it just dependent on like your motivation, how many things that you are involved with?
Well, great question. So I went to the Los Angeles Film School, and you have to, in order to get an associate's or bachelor's, of course, you have to take the business piece of it, the math, the English, and all of that. Right. But unlike, and I work with like the UCLA Film School and stuff, and I don't have a lot of experience with like USC and stuff. But if you go for a degree in film or screenwriting or cinematography, I mean, you have to go through the whole college process. So you're gonna lose a little out of what you want. The good thing about and I'm not recommending either way with my school, because the problem is if you go to a USC and film doesn't work out for you, you can put that on a resume and go to you can get another job. But when you put the Los Angeles Film School on there, they might be like, I don't know if you can do anything else. But as far as making films, that's all we did there. And when you're not making films, you have access to all of their equipment.
Right.
So it's up to you as the student. Do you want to check and rent the equipment out and go out there and make films? And the thing is like most of those film schools, they expedite it. So you're going to class for 12 hours. So afterwards, the question is, do you still, on your weekends, do you want to go out and make films? And it's free equipment, or do you want to rest or go out and drink or just hang out with friends? I mean, it's up to you.
Right. Hanging out with friends is overrated. You say?
Right. We can make friends.
That is not a resume skill. I'm super good at hanging out. Yeah.
We'll have time to make friends once we make it big. Right, we'll have many friends.
Yes. Yeah, I will invite all my friends to my mansion in the sky.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. Nobody wants to go over to somebody's like 1-bedroom studio. Oh, I love this room you're in.
Right.
Right.
And I remember you telling me you lived in LA, and that's exactly what it is. Just a 1-bedroom studio. Like, yeah, let's spend our Saturdays and Sundays in a 1-bedroom studio. Let's go make some films. Because I'll invite you to my mansion after.
Right, after they've like been at Cannes or something.
Yep.
Right. Now, how many do you feel like there's a certain percentage of luck with people? Like, did you ever see somebody and you were like, ooh, their skills are mediocre, but they have such a personality and there's something about them that where they make it and you really can't believe it. But like, is that as important as just being like skillful? Because some people are skillful but have absolutely no social way of putting their work out there, and they're like nervous and scared, which that might be me. So yeah, but like, what do you think is like the good combination for somebody who's going to go into this?
I think personality is actually everything. I think this business is a people business, and you get your next job based off somebody recommending you. And people, when you work on set, you're spending anywhere, like on an indie film, 10 days, to a high studio film where it could be 6 months. Right. And if you have to spend time in close quarters with someone, you don't, of course you have to have a little skill, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to work with them. You got to be able, when they say cut and you have 8-hour downtime and you're passing a beer around or you're having right. dinner, it's about who you want to work with, people that you want to hang out with.
Right.
And you'll get it far in this industry if you can
right.
hang out with someone.
Right. How do you do that balance, though, of trying to be assertive that you really want this career, you want to be a producer or a director or a screenwriter or a sitcom writer or an executive producer or whatever, without like putting people ill at ease? Like, what does he or she like really want from me? You know what I mean? Like, because some people, if you're too aggressive, it's like, oh, thanks for handing me your screenplay. It's like, oh, I'm not going to read that. Or like, there's definitely a balancing act of having someone want to help you and putting that person off to where right. they might not invite you back. How do you have you seen it go both ways? Or
yeah, so I'm going to go with the screenwriter perspective. Right. So I always recommend screenwriters to work on set, not for them to work on set because it's their screenplay, but just to experience the set life. Because that person who is the second assistant camera, that person who's the gaffer, that's not what they ultimately want to be. They ultimately want to be a director, a producer, maybe even an actor, but this is paying the bills at the time. You right. need to network and connect with those people. Right. But you don't go in there and say, oh, I'm a screenwriter and I would love to tell you about my story. I mean, there's millions of us. You need to just make the connection, make it personal, just learn about them, what their aspirations are, their family, where they're from, their favorite sports teams, whatever it is. Keep that going until you can finally say, oh, are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram? Are you on LinkedIn? Where are you from? And connect. And then send a follow-up message and just say it was great meeting you. And then in time you can say, hey, I've been working on this kind of script. I got this really great story. Do you know anybody who'd be interested in reading it? But the people who fail the most, the most amateur writers think that they're the only people who write scripts. Right. So they think that nobody else has stories. Right. So they go up to these people on set or they email these producers and they say, oh, I have this great story. It's going to make you a lot of money. Right. And they're going to be like, I've been doing this for 40 years. Like, this is not how you come at me. This is not how you talk. Right. There's a way. And the one thing I always tell people is don't go up to someone and say, don't ask them, what can you do for me? What can I do for you? Like, right. How can I help you? Right. That's how you make those connections. So.
Right. Let's talk about screenwritingstaffing.com, right?
Okay,
Did I say it right?
Please. Thank you.
Like I said it right. I've done something right today. So screenwritingstaffing.com. Like, how did you visualize that happening? Like, who helped you with that? Are you like doing that to help other writers, or did you think like what was the need for that you saw, and like plugged in a hole in the market. You know what I mean?
No, thank you for asking, and that's a great question. So I read a lot of things on like entrepreneurs, and the one thing is like you eventually you kind of steal like I from someone else on what they're doing, but what they're doing wrong and what they're lacking.
Right.
And the one thing that I felt as a screenwriter was I hated submitting to producers on platforms where they didn't give me the name of the producer, the company of the producer. So I'm typing in my log line, my synopsis, the title of my screenplay, my email and name, and then maybe they'll message me. But how do I know these platforms are actually connected with producers? Right. And that bothered me for about 3 or 4 years when I graduated. I was like, I these platforms, I like how they're built. I mean, it makes sense,
Right.
but do I know who am I submitting to?
Right.
So I looked at those platforms and I was like, as a screenwriter myself, what would I like? And what would I like would be, I want to know the name of the producer, I want their IMDb or their personal website, and I want their email. I don't want to submit through a form. I want to email them directly.
Right.
So I created that site based on that, and I started my site by using the producers that I worked with for 5 or 6 years. That's how I started it.
Right.
And then I built upon that. Right. So I tell a lot of people who are trying to create websites or companies, like, it's okay. Quentin Tarantino says he steals. I mean, he's always talked about, I steal stories, but I make them better.
Right.
So I looked at the websites that I was competing with, and I was like, as a screenwriter who have used those websites, I used them. And I was like, I like this, I like this, I like this, but I don't like any of this.
Right.
So then I decided I'm going to create something and make it very simple. Email the producer directly.
Right.
And you know it's gotten there.
Right. Oh, that's a good idea. You're full of them.
So, yeah, it's great. So when you were in, if you don't mind, when you were in Hollywood, what was your niche? What were you doing?
Well, I wanted to do screenwriting,
okay,
obviously. And then people were like, Matt, you're very funny. Like,
you are funny.
On the fly. And people started to say that we think you'd be good, in sitcoms, because you can think of a joke and then a follow-up and a joke and a follow-up.
I can see that
pretty quickly.
You got good advice. I think so.
Yeah. And so I thought, oh, that would be great. But then I was already like ingrained in like working every day. And I thought, I can't like just throw away my daily job and my income to try and get in a writer's room and like get coffee for maybe 2 or 3 years however long that pays like $9 an hour or however much. And I just thought, oh, I can't do that. I'm already living like in that studio. You know,
right,
I thought, what am I going to live in that's less than that?
There's nothing else. You're going to be on, what's that place in LA? The
Skid Row.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is not, you know, I need my own private bathroom. So
I'm like that too.
Right? I'm not sharing. So I just thought, oh, it felt like a little bit too late for me in that regard. But then that was like maybe the early, like 2004 or 5. And it was when web series like Felicia Day was doing The Game or whatever that was or whatever.
Felicia Day.
Yeah. Felicia Day. And people were saying like, you can just find film students, write like short little things and start
just make
doing
your own stuff.
So I'm like, oh, okay. So around 2010, because also like the economy went in the crapper like in 2008.
Yeah, that was like the housing business, everything went down.
So I was like, oh, I can't do this right now. So then in around 2010, I had finally had something that everyone read and said, Matt, this is hilarious. So I thought, I'm going to film this, and I found the right people and did it. But it didn't really like lead me down the direction that I was wanting to, because I wasn't aggressive enough to like promote it and be like, hey, look at how awesome I am, because there's like 1,000 other me's that are like
it's because we're creative and we're not so much marketers or
right. But I do love that side of it, but the like working out like how to get it in the right hands and get people to see it and love it and hire me for real and all that. It's like that is the mystery that is unfigureoutable.
Yeah.
Like so I enjoyed that, but I kind of decided to put it to bed. Although there's a lot of wacky ideas happening up here.
But you know what's
you can tell? Yeah.
But you know what's cool about now with our industry is that you can write whatever you want, produce it, and it doesn't matter where you're at.
Right, I was going to ask you about that because, like, you were in LA and now you're in Ohio. And
I work.
You're all over the place.
I work.
So.
I just went to a film festival in Salvador, and I work all over. And most of my producers who post with me, most of my writers, they're not even from the U.S.
Right.
You don't have to. Like you were saying when you were out there, like in 2010 or whatever. I mean, I was out there too, but back then, I mean, if you wanted to get anything made, I mean, you had to be out there. You can make anything anywhere. You don't have to be out there. Hollywood leaves Hollywood to make projects now. If you have good content, people will come and they will see.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Nobody cares on like your YouTube channel. Oh, they're based in Los Angeles. They don't care. Yeah, they just care about the content, you know?
True. Yeah. Sometimes it can like be like, look at these LA people. Sometimes like middle America, like, it's coming out of like a coast, they might hate you a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, because they're like, they think they're so smart and clever and funny, like, you know, and liberal, which, hey, I am.
But let me tell you, this isn't my union friends won't like this, but these are the times that are perfect for those who are not part of the union. Make content.
Right.
This is the time to make content. Hollywood's not making content, and as not just a nation but a world, we love content, and we have to have content nonstop.
Right.
This is the time to start peddling and producing your content.
Right. Let's do it, Jacob.
Let's go ahead. Right? It's time.
Right. Look for the next project from Matthew and Jacob. We got this. All right. I'm going to have to wrap it up there, or else we're going to be going like 45 minutes.
This has been good. Thank you so much for your good questions.
You're welcome.
I've done a lot of podcasts. I've done podcasts out here, but I just get the generic questions. I really appreciate the good questions.
Right. Oh, I did want to ask one more thing. Like, if you're a producer, there's some producers that like arrive on set and make sure everything's happening as it should, and then they like go home and like are counting the beans. You know, how much money is people spending? And some producers are I'm going to do as much stuff so I don't have to hire other people, and we're going to keep the costs down. So, like as a producer, are you like all hands on deck, or do you just kind of sit back and see what's happening?
So I have no problem saying this because there's not one person who would argue. I'm all hands on deck. I'll put up a boom. I'll grab a C-stand and move it away because time is money.
Right.
And I am the one that used to grab coffee. I'm the one that I would bring coffee to an actor and they said, "Didn't I not tell you I did not want sugar in there?" And I'm like, "Oh, shit."
Oh, right.
And I've been there where I got my start from working very low.
Right.
And I will do whatever it takes to make the project work. I'm not saying everyone's like that, but I don't care if I'm writing the script. I have a project going in Australia, and I had told the producer, I'm just the writer, I'm not a producer or anything. She was like, "I want you on set." And I was like, "Well, whatever you need. We're shooting in a motel, I'll make the bed." Like, just get the project made, you know?
Right. Yay. Okay, that's good to hear, because some people, they envision the producers like they just slap a check down.
But you're thinking maybe you're thinking more like executive producers, the investors, but like producers. I mean, the goal is to get the damn film made.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. And you seem like you know how to get things.
You have to.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you were here.
I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah. I tried to ask you good things. And you're funny, and I'm funny. So
you're very funny.
This is going to be very entertaining.
I can't wait to share. Great questions. I swear I've been on some podcasts, and they're just like, "Here, my name is Jacob. Here's where I'm from." But you're asking really good questions that I know my audience from my site will, and your audience will like too.
They better.
Well, if
better
they
like
don't,
this.
if they don't, then don't subscribe.
Right. Oh, yes. If you love Man with a Mentor, you can hit the subscribe button. Thank you. All right. We're going to wrap this up here.
Thank you, Matthew.
I am with Jacob Stuart. His website is?
Screenwritingstaffing.com.
And what's your movie coming out?
I have,
Do you have a title?
Control with Kevin Spacey and Crust with Alan Ruck.
All right.
And then I have one that I wrote, Motel Nowhere. So I appreciate letting me do the shout out. But
yeah, you got to do a shout out. Hey, if you're in this industry, you need all the help you can get.
Right.
Right.
And especially with Kevin Spacey, we need some help.
Right. Yeah, we could talk for 45 minutes about him, and it might go a little blue. But I'm not going to go there today. All right, listen, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I think I just ruined this 45 minutes with that little statement, but we love him. All right, I'm Matthew Barnard with Jacob Stuart.
Thank you so much, Matthew.
We're signing out. Good night.